Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Terrible Video Gamers Game Club. We're making a book club for video games, joined by Alex Purdy
Hello, everybody.
and Tyler Schatz.
Howdy.
And I'm Josh Cox, and this week we are finishing up our discussion on The Outer Wilds. We started it a couple weeks ago now, a few weeks ago. Last time we talked about our opening impressions of the game, but we hadn't finished it, and now two of us have finished it. And I think, was it, you had already actually seen the speed run for the end prior, Shotzi, and now you've actually watched a proper ending here?
Exactly. Yeah.
There we go. All right. So, I pretty much finished the game right away after that podcast. So I think it was later that night or maybe the next night where I just hopped in, blew through the ending, and at that point I went on and actually started watching a bunch of folks who had streamed it and stuff like that, and just been devouring everything I could about it since. Shotzi, did you touch much more of the game after that podcast?
I think I just saw some of the achievements you had in Steam and went, well, I'm going to go try and figure out what I can do for that. Kind of messed around a little bit with that. And I think I stopped in the middle of the tornado at the Great Deep. Is that the planet?
Yeah, Giant Steep.
Giant Steep, yeah. I went into the middle of the tornado there. That was about it for my continuing playthrough of the game.
There you go. And Purd, you finished it. Do you think you're going back to it? I guess to step back a smidge, Purd was talking about wanting to have finished it, but ended up finding some struggle points, right?
Well, yeah, you guys will know, but anybody maybe listening won't. I just have I've had a very erratic schedule with hockey games and coaching and stuff, so trying to compete with that and then spending quality time with the game. Because it's one of those games you can't just pick up and play 15 minutes and then go to bed. You could do one loop, I guess, whatever you might want to call it, one cycle, but that's tough to do for me. If I'm going to dedicate time to it, I want to dedicate time to it. But anyway, yeah, I hit a couple points where I had to look up guides, and the guides didn't really help me. And at the end, JC, obviously, I told Tyler after you muted yourself a few hours ago, I was like, I would not have finished that game if you didn't help me figure it out, because I was just stuck and there's so much going on, and I just was not connecting the dots as well as I thought I would, but it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And so we've actually got some recorded video, so we'll put that out on the channel here, and it'll be a nice thing to have the ending up for anybody who listens to this and wants to also experience it as well, I think. So yeah. Oh, I guess that's kind of the big thing is the ending of the game. So it sets up, there's all these things that I was able to take the time with the game enough to find, there's all these breadcrumbs that point you towards these bits of story constantly. And so there is a really great little story that pushes you all the way towards this final climax. But it's also missable stuff too. So that might end up being one of the knocks against it. But the finale brings it all into this big ultimate package, which, without getting into the story nonstop, I feel like it really tells a very good sort of tale about sort of just the way that the universe is kind of dying, and sometimes you just have to accept that fate is what it is. You're just the inevitability of time and life and death and all of these things kind of roll up into this ending in a way that a lot of games have a hard time communicating, I think. Did you get anything more from the ending, really, Purd?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I got really deep in philosophical thought with it, to be honest. Yeah, I felt like the game, this is going to get a little deep maybe, so if you're not wanting to cry, maybe now would be a good time to stop listening. But the game is kind of about loss, I feel like, and how loss can lead to new beginnings and stuff like that. So yeah, spoiler alert, obviously, but yeah, there's no way to avoid the universe dying. And you are a part of that. But the travelers with you are saying, you were along for the ride and you had fun experiences, and it's not about the end, it's about the journey sometimes, and et cetera, et cetera. And then, at the post-credits scene, which we can maybe talk about, you see that a new universe has been created, and there's a new species or new life forms that are out exploring just like you did. So it kind of wraps it up. I mean, it's a tough video game ending to reckon with. It seems like it's more of a book or a movie type of ending than a game, but But yeah, it was a deep thinker. I just sat there kind of like, awed for a few minutes, like, oh, is this really like what it's coming to, type of thing. So, but yeah, I enjoyed it. Did you have a lot of deep thoughts about it too?
I did. Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where I just, as things were happening and I just started realizing like how the rest of this game was going to go, I just, just sat at little text prompts a lot longer than I've typically had in prior parts of the game, because I'm just really soaking it all in. Like, that you go through the museum that you go through at the very beginning of the game, but it's all twisted. Like, if you read more of the descriptions on there, then it'll just have all these things like, well, there's a description of the sun and how it goes supernova, and then like in the opening parts, it's like, oh, this is just what happens whenever a sun goes supernova. Our sun will do that someday, nowhere near any time now.
Yeah.
But then whenever you go through it at the end of the game, it's all like, this happened to a Hearthian, to a solar system here, and like all of these people are wiped out, and it's just all these different notes that go through and talk about like essentially how you are here at the end of the universe, and you did it. You're here, and kind of like you were saying, you're here. You're a part of the end of the universe, but you're also a key part of the beginning of a new one as well. It's like you help bring all these travelers around and play a song to begin a new part of the universe, as abstract as that is, but has a great little thing.
Well, yeah, the music just is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It makes the whole game, and that's from the very beginning. I mean, from the opening credits, the music is just. Man, I wonder if that studio or whoever's in charge of the music, if they have other games, I'm definitely just going to check out the soundtracks, even if I don't play them, because wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that's the one thing we can't emphasize enough. I really enjoyed the music as well, and since you mentioned earlier, JC, that it's on Spotify,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go see if I can't just add the playlist to my Spotify account here, just to listen to it every once in a while.
There you go. Yeah. It's really great, and especially the way that it has good musical moments throughout the game, but especially once you grab the warp core out of the Ash Twin project and you go towards the end, from then on the music is truly just elevated to the next level, I think. The way that the end song is kind of twisted for the last bit, the typically the finale song like of each run has that sort of synthesized thing as the 2-minute countdown to the sun going supernova begins. And then they start that as soon as you grab the warp core and leave, and you start your trek towards the ship that's going to be the end of the game. Then they start a sort of twisted version of that playing, where it's not darkly twisted or anything, but it's a play on that same theme. And it was almost a little bit of a musical theater style quality to it, where it's like these motifs keep coming up and recurring, and it was just a really great thing. It felt like you've been conditioned for however many runs to think, when I hear this song, the end is happening. I have to make the most of the rest of this time that I have, and playing it there I think was great. It reminded you of it, but it also has these elements behind it that make it sound like you're doing even more. I mean, the music is just incredible, and even after the credits, I think there's some great moments there. I don't know how long whenever we were watching Perd finish of the game, I just went ahead and muted myself personally, just like let him mostly experience it and not influence anything else beyond that. But after the credits, whenever they're playing, they're showing the next species, everything. It's actually it's the same sort of notes from the main theme, but they're played in a different sort of pattern. So it's kind of like how the universe has changed just slightly. It's a new universe, but it's still some of the same elements. The music is still the same technically, but there's just some new elements, some new arrangements. So I think, yeah, music top to bottom from the end of the game is truly incredible. Well, yeah. Shotzi, since you didn't really directly experience it yourself, did you get much of the story ending from it? Did you have any big takeaways from that, or are you kind of, I guess, do you understand where things came from whenever you watched it with us, or were you just kind of like, oh, I didn't know this was a thing?
I probably kind of like missed the story beat. Like, there must have been some part of the story beat that I missed there, because like you gather up all these travelers at the end there, but I'm not for sure, like, are they the same species as you? Are they just multiple travelers from this like universe that just keep, they're the ones who have found it to the end, and now you join them as well as another species of the group, or what? I didn't quite get that part.
Yeah, those were all the Hearthian travelers that were littered throughout essentially. And then the one non-species is the Nomai who made it to the quantum moon. You go find them. Apparently, if you don't go to the quantum moon, but you go to complete the game, then you don't get that. Like that person is not there at the end of the game. And so, like, whenever you do your version of the new universe, I think that I even read that that universe doesn't have life then at the end. Like that universe.
There was different endings from the little bit of like reading I was doing after. I never clicked on any of those articles just because I didn't really want to know any other endings.
Fair enough.
But I did see like, every ending explained. Oh, okay, so there is more than one.
Yep. And some of them are like, might just be even saying like the ways to get other endings. There are endings where you can break the fabric of space time and stuff like that if you cause, like, essentially so to get back a little bit more about story, essentially the Nomai are that typical ancient race of progenitors of previous aliens in a space system who have made all the fancy technology for you and help you through time to be where you're at. But you find out, and depending on where you searched everything, that they built this whole thing to try and go back to force the sun to go supernova so that they could go back 22 minutes in time because it would power this giant teleporter. And whenever the sun went supernova, and they would go back in time 22 minutes to then grab more information about it. And then they found a way to basically save that information each cycle through those masks that you saw in the Ash Twin room. And it's kind of like the towers that you saw at the museum that then ends up being the reason that you can do the 22-minute loop. And so from that's how this keeps happening, is that they fail in their mission to do that. And then they end up dying all whenever this giant comet comes around that puts ghost matter throughout the entire system. So they all die just unceremoniously after a horrible failure where they can't get their main project underway. But meanwhile, all their stuff is actually still able to work. And it's sure enough, once your sun goes supernova at the end of its natural life, hundreds of thousands of years later, it kicks off all of their machinery. And that's whenever you're going back in time 22 minutes, you're essentially just feeding into their system that had already been built. Even they're helping you pass on all this information and gain all this information to go on to the center of the universe without even being there. So I don't know. It was a great little story. When that 22-minute cycle happens, though, in that Ash Twin project room, there's a black hole that opens up to begin that 22 minutes process. And if you go through that black hole at that point, then you restart the cycle. But then there will be a copy of you still at that Ash Twin room. So you can then go to the Ash Twin project again and then talk to yourself and just break the fabric of space-time there. Yeah,
so that's one of the endings there. There's basically...
Yep, there's an ending there where you essentially get to talk to yourself, and from there I think you can... I haven't actually done it myself, but you can do just these different little things. And another one you can do where they have a test area where they were trying out this black hole, white hole thing, and the black hole, white hole situation is that basically something will actually come through the other side of it just slightly faster than it actually goes into it. It breaks quantum law, essentially. And so if you break the teleport link at the right time, you'll actually make 2 copies of your scout that is in that teleporter room. And then at that point, the game starts to degrade and the graphics start to freak out and break all over the place and screen shift. And then it just gives you a game over screen. And they play a kazoo version of the theme over it, the credits. So, yeah, lots of cool little touches like that. But yeah, top to bottom, this game, I think, was one of the best games. I think easily the best game we played for GameClub. I'm really glad that it was one of them because I'd been meaning to play it for a while and just hadn't had a moment to be like, oh, yeah, here's a good reason to hop into this game. But, yeah, this was easily one of the top ones.
One thing I wanted to bring up about this game is that it is terrifying at times. I'm kind of a wimp with scary things, so if you're not easily scared, then you can maybe just tune me out here. But man, like even just Giants Deep, the tornadoes, like they don't make me feel good. And then you go under the water, and there's those giant squid things, and maybe I'm just Subnautica, which like tore me to pieces with underwater stuff because that was terrifying. And then the anglerfish
Yes.
situation, I nearly pooped myself. And I'm not exaggerating a lot with that one. So yeah, this game, while beautiful and music was great and such a deep message, was also terrifying at times. So it's a very well balanced game with a couple different genres too. You know, it's like an adventure. It makes you think, and also it'll make you poop yourself. So yeah, I wanted to bring that up. Were you guys ever a little freaked out? Because man,
I
Put that on
was.
the back of the box. The game will make you poop yourself.
So yeah, Shots, did you have any big moments of terror in your time?
Um, let's see here. There was I mean, I don't think there was any. I don't think I ran really into the anglerfish other than the one you see in the museum. So I didn't have
Right.
that scary thing there. It was just a lot of like frustration with myself of just like bouncing the ship off of a planet or something like that and killing
Right.
myself or turning my autopilot on and just going straight into the sun.
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah, the autopilot is not very smart sometimes.
yeah, it'll take you right to it, direct path as the crow flies. Yep.
Yep.
If there's a sun in the way, so be it. Just go right through it. Yeah. No, there's I definitely had moments of terror with it as well. The anglerfish as well. If you spend a lot of time searching dark bramble, you start to learn kind of the ways that they blend in and such like that. So you get used to them over time. But yeah, I mean, I still feel weird crawling into the jellyfish, going down below towards the probe tracking module for Giants Deep. Those were not pleasant. And yeah, the quantum moon is a weird place. It's unsettling a bit. The eye of the universe itself, whenever it's doing all the like lightning storms of trees and stuff popping away, was unsettling. A lot of good unsettling moments.
A big part of the game is literally turning around to see if something has popped up behind you
right?
or not, you know, continually.
Yep.
So yeah, like there's always kind of a little jump scare element with that where it's like, is this giant rock gonna be here in the beginning? And it's like, okay, it's right in front of me. And then it's, is this building gonna be there? And all of a sudden, yeah, things are just flashing in and out. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I mean, just like the first time that I teleported, I did not know that I was going to teleport. And so the teleporting essentially works where you stand on this platform that has a black hole core, and it will, once it is aligned with a white hole core section, essentially, it will pop you over to it, and then from there you can return using the white hole core section. I did not know about any of this until I was just like hanging out in this room that had a black hole thing on the floor, and I'm just standing there looking at it without knowing that the place comes overhead just at that time, and all of a sudden I teleport to another planet, and I'm just what the. So yeah, a lot of surprising things in that game, and I, like I said, at the time I didn't know about it, and it was great to then find a spot in the world that then explained like, oh hey, we figured out this thing, and if you stand over here, then you can travel, and then you just travel on the other one back, and it's great that they have a lot of stuff in the world for it. It is a downside that it just takes a while to find all those sometimes. So yeah, was there any particular fall off point? Because Shotzi is the one who didn't actually finish it. Did you just kind of weren't vibing with the game exploration style, or?
Yeah, that's probably, I guess, what you could chalk it up.
Oh, I think we might have lost.
He's gone.
All right. Can't finish the game. Can't finish the podcast about the game.
Yeah, he's just done with us.
Fair enough. We'll get him back on here in a minute. So yeah. Yeah. I guess I can even just edit the podcast part here for this, but
Hit me with a new question. Let's pretend that you never asked him.
right.
Like, so Alex.
So Alex, music the best, music the absolute best. I don't actually have many good questions for this sort of stuff. Like I should be making better outlines for questions and conversation pieces, but I don't.
I kind of like the free form discussion. It reminds me of like Joe Rogan's podcast. Well, I don't agree with everything the man says. I want to make sure that's well known. I just like how he doesn't come with questions, really. Just like, hey, let's talk and see where the conversation takes us. I kind of like that. I don't, that's just my thing. Obviously, it's not as structured, maybe, as other things, but I like that the conversation can kind of go anywhere.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. So, yeah. graphics, sound, story, atmosphere.
I mean, there's nothing about this game that was really bad. I like. I'm trying to think of a good way to say it, but the controls, like I played on keyboard and mouse, which we talked about last time, which is not recommended by the devs, according to the opening scroll of the game.
Right.
But it worked fine for me, and so that was good. I didn't have any weird game ending glitches or anything like that. The
No.
only thing I guess maybe that I would have made easier for dummies like me is just a smoother path to get wherever you wanted to go. Just because I'm a total like I read something and I think I got it. So I'm reading like some wall text or whatever. I'm like, okay, here's what it is. And 3 minutes later, I'll be like, wait, I feel like they were talking about something in this room. and it's like
then you gotta go
like
go
an
back.
idiot, 'cause it's like, yeah. So that's probably a big reason why I didn't. I needed help to finish. Maybe is a better way of saying it.
Yeah, the logs are actually pretty good about keeping track of the really important stuff, but then it's also just a matter of making sure you read the logs effectively and all that stuff. Because there were some things that I didn't recall having read, but then I would go back into the logs like, okay, well, I think there was something over here about this, and then it would have a little note there, like, oh, hey, you read a thing on this planet that tied into this, and oh, okay, well, cool. So that part made it nice. I didn't particularly like to use that rumor mode even through the rest of the game whenever I finished it, but yeah. So it looks like Shotzi's back. We didn't catch anything about the previous part. So
I don't know what happened. My internet all of a sudden just kind of dropped off the face of the earth. But now it's back.
it's all good.
All right. So the question was, what kind of made me just kind of stop playing the game? Pretty much. when I
Essentially,
did?
yeah. Like, yeah. Your thoughts on the game having not finished it, I guess.
Yeah. So I think I touched on it a little bit during our other podcast about this. It kind of got to the point of like I'm just kind of like I must have been the key thing here or there to just kind of keep going, because it was kind of like, well, I'll just restart, die, fly to the ship or fly to this planet, explore as much as I can, die, restart, do this again. I just kind of lost the thread of like continuing forward with the story. I
Fair
think.
enough. Yeah. Yeah, because in part of the streams that I ended up watching, like I heard this game described as a Metroidvania of information. It's like, whereas those games will give you like an actual ability that then gates your access to other areas and lets you into new areas. Like this game is, you can do the ending point from the very first boot of the game, essentially. You can go finish the game. But it's all about the information that you've learned the whole way. And as he was pointing out, like you can never replay the Outer Wilds again. You can never have as much as we tried with like The Walking Dead and Stanley Parable, stuff like that. So far with GameClub, like we can go back and replay some of these and like, oh, we'll try out this, try out that. I'll never be able to go back to the Outer Wilds having known exactly what to do for the ending part of the game. Like all of that mystery is gone. It's all this building block of stuff that leads you to, once you wake up, you go to this planet, you grab this thing, you go to this planet, you hop in a ship, then you're on the ending. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's I can see why that would not be because you're not gaining anything ability wise. So like I can see why that feels repetitive to some. Like for me, the world was interesting enough that alone just kind of kept me pushing through, and I think the payoff was really great.
I liked reading about I liked reading all of the different wall scrolls and text and stuff like that. A lot of that was very interesting, but it just at a certain point I just kind of lost the through line to keep going with the story there. So it was just kind of hard to want to pick it back up and try and figure out what I was doing next.
Right. Yeah. And I think that definitely ends up being the case a little bit of times, because like I even gave Purdy a nudge at one point whenever he was like, I've done this stuff, I don't know what to do. I think you had at that point done a couple of the quantum towers, right?
Yeah, yep, I had done a couple of them, but I didn't really know where to take that information.
Right.
It's like, okay, I painfully learned how to climb up this wall using a picture and turning around and etc. What do you want me to do with this?
Right.
So I think that was something that stuck me too. There was that section where you're learning about the quantum stuff there. You're supposed to walk up that wall.
Yeah,
but
with
there's
quantum
like
imaging.
two things that just kind of keep disappearing and reappearing depending on how you're looking.
Yep.
And I tried to do that, and I was like, I don't understand what it is and I'm supposed to be doing. Like what piece of information am I missing to keep going up this wall here?
Yeah.
I bet it was probably I just needed to have the probe out for pictures or something like that. But it just
What I ended up having to do a lot was like, you'd have to stand back far enough so you could get two of them in one shot with the picture. And then that way you could then walk up to the second one, take a picture of the second one, then the first one disappears, and then spin around enough while the second one that's currently holding you to the wall. For a podcast, this is nightmare fuel, but while the second one's still holding you there, then wait until the third one lines up, and then at that point take a picture of both of them again, then walk up. Because I had plenty of times whenever I first started where I was like just walking up, like, okay, I've got a picture of the third one, here I go, and then the second one disappears behind me before I get to it, and I just fall the rest of the way. Yep. So yeah, it's quantum stuff. Turns out it's weird and hard. Yeah,
makes sense. I mean, the universe in real life is very confusing,
right?
Yeah,
but the quantum towers, I think, were cool little things. They were great little setups for how to get to the quantum moon. The trickiest one probably is the one on Brittle Hollow. Did you end up finding that tower, Perd? I think I directed you towards there a little bit and said, like, hey, go here. Did you find that tower?
Can you remind me anything about it? Because
it's the one that explains the rule of the sixth location for basically how to get to the quantum moon.
You mean like with if you warping with the thing?
The way that it describes, that you need to be on the North Pole in order to get to the sixth location of the quantum moon and walk the surface.
Yeah. Sort of. That rings a bell. Maybe it's just from you explaining it. So I'm not 100% sure if I.
Yeah. So yeah, that one. It's on the surface of Brittle Hollow, which continually falls into the center of the planet's black hole and gets spat out at the white core or white hole station on the other side of the far side of the universe. And so the way to actually get to that place, because the magical floor that lets you walk up to the top of the tower is broken. And so the actual way to do it is to just sit there and wait on the planet until that entire section of the tower falls into the planet's core and pops out with no gravity on the white hole station side. And then you just fly into there and read everything. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. I definitely did not see that one.
So that would make it make more sense there, because I kept getting to that port, looking up, I can't get up here. What am I supposed to get here earlier or something like that? Right, so I race to Brittle Hollow, get there, and be like, well, I still can't do this.
Yep. That one took me a while, where it was just like trying to figure it out, and then eventually I'm just sitting there looking at it as things start to fall, and it's like, oh, everything falls through over here. Okay, and so I just sat there and waited, and then eventually, sure enough, like with not much time left in that cycle, I think it's like you have 3 minutes essentially once it falls through before the sun goes supernova, so it's not much time. You need to be there waiting for it. But yeah, you can get that information, which you can kind of get through without it. It's essentially the stuff they give you is the information to get to the quantum moon and eventually meet Solanum, the last Nomai, who is, as they even put it, is like, I don't even know if I'm really alive in this place. So
yeah, that planet was just kind of fun to just walk around some of those wooden platforms there, and all of a sudden the wooden platform, like that, I think that's what happened to me the first time I got there, is I was walking on those wooden platforms that like go down, all of a sudden they drop, and here I am dropping down into the black hole, and next thing you know I'm in the white hole on the far side of the universe. I'm like, what did I do?
Yeah, and it's one of the first places they direct you to as well. Is like, oh, you can check out Ryback at Brittle Hollow, see what he's got to say. And so, okay, so you go over there, and it's like one of the most tricky places to navigate. I feel like Brittle Hollow is definitely one of the... there's some other places, but Brittle Hollow is definitely one of them where I feel like it requires knowing a lot about how the game kind of expects you to move before you can comfortably move around that area. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, that's the movement definitely in the game was something I struggled with a little bit too. Of like, I think it was like finally at the end of my playing time, I finally understood, oh yeah, I can't do the jump full thrust all the time because there's that little gauge at the top left corner there that shows me when I've depleted it and when it recharges.
Yep. Well, I don't really have any other thoughts about this game beyond that it's truly one of the greats. I really enjoy it. Any other closing thoughts from y'all?
I mean, I guess I'm just gonna throw out a solid recommendation for people who haven't played it to play it. If anything, just fly around and listen to the music. Yes. It's worth it for me, I guess. if it's not a free game, maybe I wouldn't recommend paying for it. If you just want to listen to the music, you can just do Spotify or Apple Music or whatever. But it's a really fun game. I definitely enjoyed my time with it.
Go with your Steam recommendation of thumbs up, play this game, or whatever you did there.
Yeah, I see. People set such high standards for Steam recommendations. I think back to Doki Doki, and like the first or the top review there is so detailed as to why you should play this game. And at the time, I was listening to the music and flying around, and it's like, "Hey, recommend this game." We're just like, you know what? Yes, play this game in all caps. You know, if someone's like me, they're gonna go, "Okay, this guy says I should play it." So,
all right, well, I guess I will. Convinced me.
Guess I have to play it.
He told me to, in all caps, I have to play this game.
Now, if you had any lowercase, I might double think this, but
Yeah. Doki Doki Literature Club's cake review is the one that has convinced me that I never am going to be a reviewer because it's too beautiful. I can't compete with that.
Yeah, the bar is so high. It's not even fair. I feel like an idiot writing almost anything now after reading some Steam reviews. People are so well thought out, and I'm just like,
yeah, play the game.
Game good. Game good. Game real good. So, yeah. Shall I move on to the next Game Club game then?
Let's do it.
All right.
Such anticipation as to what it could be.
So, I had a rough thought here, kind of when I was thinking about this podcast. Curious if you guys would agree with this or not. So we have 3 games left. 2 of them are multiplayer games, and one of them is another story-driven game. I'm assuming that's what Deliver Us to the Moon is, right, Perd?
So good. Yeah.
I was wondering, do we want to save the multiplayer games for last and just kind of have them, do one more story-driven game and then do 2 multiplayer games to round it out with? Or do we want to, obviously the randomizer will give us one or the other choice here, but or we could do like multiplayer story-driven one and then another multiplayer one. I was curious if we wanted to break a little bit from the randomizer or not.
The randomizer has led us well so far, is how I feel, but I'm game for whatever.
I'm hoping the randomizer gives us one of the multiplayer games just because I agree that I would like a change of pace, but I'm also a purist, so I think we need to let the randomizer choose.
And I also think it would be an incredible randomizer feat if we had 2 of Perd's recommendations as our last 2 games.
Okay. It has been complete BS, for lack of a better phrase, so far. Not one of my games in weeks, months.
But to be fair, my original plan for this was that we would just go through an order, and then no, randomize it. And sure enough, now someone's getting shoved out 3 weeks, and so far nobody's. Our Perd's games have not been picked. So, full randomize it then?
Randomizer then.
All right.
Send it. Let's go.
Our 3 remaining games for the listeners: Forza Horizon 4, Risk of Rain, and Deliver Us the Moon. Shotzi's already been breaking in some of these here, right? Forza Horizon, Risk of Rain.
So to just kind of explain, I was talking to JC about this a little earlier. I remember all the Forza Horizon games kind of have this introduction to them of like, you need to spend a little bit of time playing them by yourself in order for them to open up to the broad sense of getting into even multiplayer. So if Forza is chosen, we obviously will spend time by ourselves playing it, but you have to spend a little time by yourself playing that game before it actually opens up into multiplayer. And then Risk of Rain is just an amazing game to sit down and waste an hour of your day doing a run of that game.
Hey, don't say waste if it's good.
Yeah.
All right. Tactically using an hour of your time to enjoy the quality that is that game.
There we go. All right. Here we go. Are we doing 3 spins and the third one counts?
3 spins and the third one counts.
All right.
It's going to be the first 2 spins will be my games.
Forza Horizon 4.
And then the third one will not.
Yeah.
Deliver Us the Moon.
Risk of Rain.
Oh, okay. That's right.
Third one. Here we go. Forza Horizon 4. There we go. All right. One of Perd's games finally gets on the list here. So Forza Horizon 4. Definitely a hard departure from Outer Wilds in terms of what to expect from a game. This one is all about the gameplay. I don't think we're going to be talking about the story too much next time.
No deep discussions
No.
about loss and
Right.
acceptance.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think we've even discussed too, we want to maybe open this up for like a multiplayer night sometime too, of like, well, obviously
Yep.
I'll play this individually, but then try to sit down and play this like through a stream or something like that
Yep.
too.
Yeah, I think so far we've had decently story-heavy games to where, at least with the purest sense, I wanted to avoid talking too much about these outside of actual game club things where they could be recorded and be part of the discussion. But I think Forza Horizon 4, if we're talking about that, and if we're just like stuck, like, hey, how do you upgrade this thing? Like, I think that's not going to be a big ruination of the podcast merit if we discuss that outside of the game. But I think also this might be a good time. I was thinking about starting to stream these more anyway, so might start up my Twitch channel again and have that recorded and put some highlights on the YouTube channel or something if we get to that point. So that'd be a good little thing.
Yeah, be a nice change of pace.
Yeah,
from kind of we've had a lot of deep thinker games.
We have
Stanley Parable, Outer Wilds. What else we played?
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead. Yeah, a lot of deep kind of. Nice, just have a dumb fun, see what happens kind of game.
Wait till you see my garage. Yes, I've got some dumb fun ready to go. They've got. Let me see if I can put this picture up. I'm at it.
Side note: do either of you have an extra like controller I could borrow so I don't have to play on keyboard and mouse with this? Otherwise, I'm gonna have to go buy one, which is fine.
I mean, I do. Yeah, I don't know if the spare one I have is a Bluetooth one or not.
That's fine. I'm more than fine using the connection.
Do you have one of those plug-in things for a connection?
I do though.
A plug-in thing, a micro USB.
Otherwise, I have. I'm fine just plugging it in directly to the PC as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Man, I am trying to look back to see whenever I last played Forza Horizon 4, and I'm not finding it.
But you've all played Forza besides me, and this is my game.
Well, that's true. Shanti, had you played this prior to starting this up?
Nope.
Okay.
Starting this up was the first time I'd ever played it.
Nice. All right, here we go. I'll post this in our group here, and also I'll make this. Oh, hey, no, yeah, there you go. You got it. Yep, I've already got the video screen sharing. So yeah.
Okay.
I know how to. I know how to party.
What is that?
It's some sort of three-wheeled vehicle, and man, I've got this thing tuned to the nines with Forza's vehicle customization options. It's great. I love this freaking car. It's so good. You know, just taking a ride out to nature. You know, just enjoying the scenery in the UK. So,
okay.
Yep, look forward to more of that. I've got all sorts of stupid stuff in my garage. I'll be sure to post these into the video here. But yeah, so 2 weeks from now, I say Shanti was right. There's not too much. There is that sort of preamble, if you will, to Forza game before it can get opened up to multiplayer. So should we say something like 3 hours for the next time that we play? Between like, you know, put some time in to get past that opening part, let it get open, and then also a little bit of multiplayer time.
I think 3 hours probably sounds perfectly fine there. I think I've done at least like an hour and a half, just kind of what I've done so far, and
All right. Bert, does that work with your schedule? Just open it up now, right?
Yeah, finally it is. So my excuses are kind of running out. But,
all right.
Yeah, that sounds just fine to me.
Perfect. All right. Well, then in 2 weeks ish, we'll convene with Forza Horizon 4 discussion and see how that goes. And any sort of streams or anything that we do, I'll post onto there. I have not checked. Do we have any emails this week?
Oh, no, I haven't
probably not.
Either. Do we want to like set a date to do? I mean, obviously, it's just going to be us streaming to ourselves here, pretty much. But do we kind of want to set a date of like
when we meet with a multiplayer session?
When we like for sure when we meet for a multiplayer session, like we can probably do it outside of that as well too. Like if we see each other playing or whatever and want to link up, but do we want to kind of just set a hard date of like we'll try to do multiplayer on this day?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be good. I guess I am going back
And
to.
maybe we could discuss that off stream.
Yeah,
then,
that's
too,
true.
here.
Yeah.
Off podcast, I should say.
Yeah, I'd be down with that. So we'll
Okay.
set up some multiplayer nights and go from there, and yeah, stream those out, get some highlights, and then talk about it. It'll be a very gameplay focused episode of GameClub next time we meet. So yeah.
No emails in the inbox this week.
Okay, and so that is TVG Game Club. TVG Club.
TVGC Game Club.
TVGC Game Club. There we go.
At gmail.com.
At gmail.com. That's our email address. If you have any questions, any sort of points that you want to discuss about any of the games that we're playing or have coming up, send them on in. We'll read them out, talk about them. Any closing thoughts on the week? All right. In that case, we will see you all in 2 weeks. Take care.
Bye, everyone.